So I'm Giselle Sensoro. So J for probably Jolly. Okay, so what I do is I work with ANSA as the network and communications. I'm primarily handling Check My School, which is participatory monitoring of public schools. So the idea is we wanted to improve service delivery in public schools through ICT and like community mobilization. So that's it.
Nice. Good morning, I'm Louis. I'm from LaSalle. Maybe that should be my adjective, LaSalle. No, I did not study in LaSalle. I teach there. Right now I have, I'm managing a sort of a program for the LaSalle Philippines. I coordinate all the educational programs of all the 16 LaSalle schools. So I'm mainly now into project management and dealing with all our vice chancellors for academics and principals. I don't really keep a blog, although I am very active in Facebook and I write notes for my Facebook and I use Facebook as a means to expand my classroom. I really use Facebook to manage my class. People are telling me not to do it. I don't really follow their advice.
I'm Kim. I'm an intern for Raptor. An adjective?
Yeah, said our host.
I'm bubbly.
Okay.
It
has to be.
Yeah,
it has to be.
Cubby. Kind.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm Peyton, and I'm interning for Bantay.ph. So I'm doing the design, visualizing data, putting those materials out there for citizens. There's not a whole lot of adjectives that start with P. There are.
Pugnacious.
No.
No.
I'm perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect. Okay. Just kidding.
Okay. I'm Risa. My work right now is as a chairperson of a Kabayan party and raising my kids. I have 4 as a solo mom. Respectful. Rambunctious. Sounds like our puppy.
Okay, my name is Happy. My name's already an adjective. But I'll choose another H. Honest.
Oh, that's an O.
Why are you laughing? Honest, Happy. I try to be. So, I'm with Bantay.ph, like what Peyton said. We do something similar to Check My School in that we do monitoring, but we do monitoring of Anti-Red Tape Act compliance in frontline government offices. So this year we're focusing on LGUs and getting your business permit.
Okay, so to our first question, so what's the state of social media and what's its usefulness and relevance to socio-political affairs? So anong kalagayan niyan? Anong katayuan ng social media dito sa Pilipinas? Social media capital daw ng mundo.
Well, with the kind of work that we do, social media is more a platform for our advocacy rather than the monitoring and the actual participation and the actual checking of the government. So it's more because by the nature of how social media is built. I mean, it's social. I can't go on social media and like release data there and one by one update it with my status. Hello, we just monitored this, or I mean it's the purpose is really more for the advocacy because I mean monitoring serves a bigger purpose, which is for good governance, social accountability, and citizenship. And we're big on citizenship. Like when you want to hold government accountable, you should also be accountable as a citizen. You should know your rights so that you can hold government accountable if you know your rights. Because if you don't know your rights, then they'll take advantage of that ignorance. So it's more a platform for that, for the advocacy of raising awareness on people's rights, on the Anti-Red Tape Act, on the state of corruption, for example. So in that, I think social media is good because that's what really helps push our advocacy rather than going through traditional means of advertising.
Well, I think it's somehow provided like another venue for citizen empowerment. One is it's an easy way to get information. So people would the presentation of information will somehow put into chunks easier to understand for citizens. So that's one. So and then at the same time you get to access the 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 radar of those citizens who are not really involved in political affairs. So because they see it in the news feeds, it makes them curious what's happening, right? So that's one, information. I think the second one is really more engaging. So because it's people are, unlike other websites or other kind of digital platform, there's somehow it makes the world smaller. Relationship as if you're close when you are both in Facebook. So you get to them to engage into discussions. So those things, or political debate, if you could say that. And then of course, as in our experience in Check My School, the idea of having them post that this is the issues, or providing them this platform wherein they can report, so that either through private message or as a comment, that somehow gives them that, I can actually speak up through this kind of platform.
As you said, citizen empowerment, so people know what's going on in the schools or elsewhere in society and can exact better services, decent governance by having access to this information.
I think that social media is good, that it provides two-way communication. It used to be that everything we learn is from the newspaper and you just read it. Now people can read and they can comment or they can voice out their opinions. And it also provides equal opportunity for the people. Anyone can comment and anyone can voice out their opinions. You don't have to be a journalist or someone high up there.
Equal opportunity. That's also what we want to make happen even on the economic level, right? Not just to wait for the mythical trickle-down effect to transform the social pyramid, but really through people empowerment for that kind of egalitarianism to be able to happen.
And I think you're also empowering a younger generation.
Yeah.
So having that information, especially government, you're saying, now people can engage with it. They can really work through it with these different websites. And then you're really getting down to a younger generation to start building more interest and more engagement so they can pass it down to their friends. And social media kind of gives us a platform to reach the masses of people who are going into the professional level. So
Social media and the youth were one of the more exciting things people were inquiring about, even in earlier processes like the Arab Spring, the Occupy movement, and I think Pinoys are also very excited about younger people, being active or even activists in a different way from our generations before, or even seeing younger people in greater numbers wanting to work in government, thinking that, maybe this is, a decent profession, and now is the time to implement changes from within.
yeah, and being able to use social media to reach out if it's something that personally if somebody's interested in, then you can reach out to everyone in your social media. Then that just further fuels the engagement.
I'd like to say that social media really is a great almost equalizer because most of our people are really not yet engaged, as it were. And those who are engaged, let's say 25% of the population who have access to it, use it for different purposes. On the side of government, of course, government uses it basically to inform people. Now, as you look at the political sector, you'd see people using it in different ways for information, for advocacy, etc.
Sometimes just for propaganda.
Yes, for propaganda. Okay. On the other side, however, you have the users, the ordinary users, who use it for various purposes, and I think there's just only a small section of the population who really use it for, let's say, productive purposes. Most really use it for, I'm sorry to point it out, but really you have to acknowledge that they use it for gaming, for chatting. There's nothing wrong with that. I do that also. But I think there's a large chunk of the population there that we have to engage. And of course, if we talk about access to social media, again, as I pointed out, there has to be that qualification. But yes, I do agree. No, we're talking here really basically of an issue on governance, and governance is basically a relationship between the people and our governors, our government, and it's a tool by which you can enhance that relationship, basically.
You mentioned 25% of the Filipino population.
I'm not really too sure on that figure.
No,
Okay.
I don't, is anybody
Yes,
sure? At first, people were saying 10%. Before, several years ago, now people say at best 30%. So we're talking about quality of the engagement in social media, but also the quantity is important. If you're talking about mass citizens participation or consciousness raising activities in our society, diba? or
You know,
even getting people involved in organizations.
as a teacher, I'm really monitoring what's happening in social media. It's a way by which I actually gauge the kinds of things that my students are talking about, really, and also my way of engaging them. No? Of course, some of them refuse to be my friends on Facebook, so that's okay. I don't
You can
get
unfriend
offended.
them too.
No, but really, I find it that there really is there is this gap between the younger population and the older ones who refuse to go into social media. I know of quite a number of teachers who don't want to touch the computer still. No? And then, yes, but that's of course that cannot be avoided now, really. And then I think our schools should look more into this, and I think schools and teachers should be more active in looking at social media. By my experience, actually, I find the basic tools very effective to reaching out to my students in my own classes, really.